Whether they're battling side by side with you, assaulting you in public through mandatory and in many cases non-consensual combat, or leaving you in the dust flexing the hoe convertible. The rival is one of the true constants in Pokemon. One of the most important pieces to your adventure. The Rock to your Stone Cold. The Yami Yugi to your Kaiba. And arguably my favorite dynamic of rival, the Squillium to your Squidward. Canonically referred to as the Homobile rival variant. The rival spectrum is wide. They range from some of the biggest bullies to the biggest geeks to even the biggest goths. They could be as threatening as your standard 6 Magikarp man, all the way to one of the most challenging boss fights in their game. That sweet ecstasy of finally giving Blue the business. How could you not love finally conquering a challenging boss fight? Well, you can look no further. Enter one of the toughest bosses in this video's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends, the free-to-play mobile fantasy turn-based RPG. Combat with over 700 unique collectible champions. The depth to its highly strategic battle system just keeps on growing, along with its intense combination of player versus environment and PvP content. A Hydra with multiple heads. Each head is its own unique boss. Dare you step to the head of mischief, Ed boy? Don't be deceived. This Hydra will mug you. If you've fully buffed up a champion, be prepared for all of that to be stolen. Dare you step to the head of wrath? The angriest head of all. Powers up after 15 hits. Gains a terrifying triple attack power buff. You've got to deal serious damage in as little attacks as possible to give it the business before it has the chance to become too powerful, or your team's just gonna get it. New players can get one of the best epic champions going, the Stag Knight, along with a unique skin designed by Jontron. What? Just use the promo code JTSkin before October 7th. For current players, you can still get the Stag Knight and Jonathan Jafari's own skin through an in-game event. Already given the Hydra a good slapping down, faced off against other clans? Well, now you can double up and do both at the same time with the Hydra Clash, where you and 4 other clans compete to see who can lay the smackers down on the Hydra the hardest, with banger rewards on offer too. So assemble the boys and get clanning. It's a great new time for new players to get involved. You can use my link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen to get some mad bonuses. Talking about epic champion Drake, among items like energy refills, skill tomes, and XP boosters. In order for your rival to be a good rival, they need to be strong enough to actually give you a bit of hassle. If you're just a part-time bully to them and their pets, was there ever really a rivalry to begin with? It needs a bit of heat. It can't be one-sided. They need an edge to them. They need to motivate you to want to unleash the almighty 3-shoe beating every time you happen to cross the same route as them. So here I am, ranking all 24 Pokemon rivals. This feels unnecessary. Don't even want to go out of my way to acknowledge your man Tierno as a rival. Who's this guy contesting exactly? It's not me. I like to think it's none of yous either. The only place Tierno has the chance of rivaling someone is in bottom set PE. He's supposed to be a rival trainer. I think he's the one who needs a trainer. He's got some impressive bulk, untapped potential that if taken under Mr. Sawaro's wing, it could be refined into quite a terrifying strong build. Craft him into the next Eddie Hall. That's the only way he could ever be a threat to you. He's not even worthy of being tiered as dead last. Tierno? More like tier? Nah, he doesn't even deserve to be sent to the graveyard. He should be going straight to the banished pile, removed from play. Only 3 Pokemon on him that in all fairness are individually decent. He maybe has some potential going for a full team until you clock the guy has a Roserade that only knows a singular move, and then all of that potential goes straight out the window. Mr. Suarez, he's never gonna do personal training for you now. The mind is the strongest muscle of all, and clearly Tierno's mind is sticking the CrossFit, because whenever a move slot is free, whatever that Pokemon learns next is mandatory. What hellish existence Tierno has lobotomized this Roserade into living, intentionally going out of your way to surgically concuss your Pokemon via the move deleter to only know how to dance. I can see why Tierno wasn't even in the conversation with Professor Sycamore to get a starter Pokemon. Even worse, the professor brought him in like, now Tierno, I think you're old enough. It's finally time. Now this briefcase contains 3 very rare Pokemon. Oh, I've already chosen. I choose Froakie. You what? Get your claws away from Froakie. Those aren't for you. Bad, you know. You already had your choice between these 3 and the mystery box. And you chose the mystery box. Don't usually do the mystery box thing, but I never really wanted you having one of the good 3 in the first place. I knew you'd take the bait, to be honest, so enjoy Corfish. Was only gonna boil him anyway. I gave you my dinner, mate. Yeah? Not one of the rare ones. No, get your hands off the brief. No, I need you to run down the road and give the good Pokemon to all the main characters, yep. off your pop. Not only is he out of the question for the starter Pokemon, he's the delivery boy. He's personally sent to serve the starter Pokemon to the better trainers. It's not like he's trying to be a champion or anything. Not every rival has to be a menace. His motive is to be a dancer. So all of his Pokemon revolve around dance-based moves. And I always prefer the idea of trainers not being monotype and revolve around concepts instead. And one of the rare times they decide to do it, it's for Pokemon's most elite jumbo jabroni. Tierno isn't even Pokemon's best dancing trainer. I don't think the worst rival is ever gonna be up for debate again when you have Mr1upz. The second worst rival, and predictably the second member of the Kalos Job Squad. Trevor is cut from the same dodgy cloth as Mr1upz. I can at least say for him, he lets his pets learn a few more tricks past the iconic move of sit. The 3 Pokemon he has managed to scavenge up are all decent enough too. He maybe could have been a solid, like Wally kind of rival for Kalos if they actually did something with Kalos. For some reason, it's looking like Kalos has tighter restrictions on the Pokeball legislation. Can only carry like 4 at a time, apparently.
Oh, Bamner's coming to take our weapons away. First it starts, they take away our gambling. Then before you realize you're leaving the house armed with only 4 Pokemon on your belt, like the damn French.
The third worst rival, and predictably the third member of the Kalos Job Squad. Shauna may be grouped in with the Jabroni trio, but the power dynamic is very clear. The rest of them were never even in contention to receive a starter Pokemon. She was the only one out of them chosen by the professor to get one. So what I mean by power dynamic is Tierno isn't a rival. He's Shauna's postman. Tierno's built to serve the actual trainers. Throw in Blue or Silver in Tierno's position and he'd have finessed the whole set of them. Replace the briefcase with Tierno's Corphish and 2 Bunnelbees he caught on the walk down. Call that the hustler's trade. Charge it to the game, but the karmic cycle continues where in the post game, Shauna trades you a bred version of her starter. Now in a sense finding herself in the Tierno delivery boy role towards you, the player. It's not even like she asked you to breed a version of your starter for her to make it fair. She offers this for any Pokemon you have, depending on how harsh you are. This isn't even a hustler's trade. This is just consensual robbery. It's not even a trade. It's more like giving your Amazon delivery driver a high five. I've gotta say, not very rival-like of you, Shauna. It's suspiciously kind of you. That deal is too good to be true. Hey, this Froakie's broken, isn't it? You're giving me the one that doesn't have webbed fingers, aren't you? She really means any Pokemon. Because I mean, alright, I've got this half-eaten Vanillite that's been wedged in the back of my freezer for a few years now. It's gonna go off any day now. Slide us that Froakie. Out of the deal, baby. This Shauna character isn't anywhere near cutthroat enough. Even if she had a team full of Metagrossers, she'd probably use them to sort your taxes and float you through the McDonald's drive-thru. You could trade her Froakie for a Pokeball you've been using as an ashtray for the past 6 months. And she'd stare back at you with those soulless eyes and somehow find the positives in the exchange, like, wow, I'll be sure to take great care of... that was, it was a ponytail. It must have got too hot in there. Ever since the complete flop, Akita emerged as a champion, there's been some dispute about Trace's claim to the throne. But make no mistake about it, that position is still untested. As a champion at least, relatively speaking compared to the rivals, he's not the worst. He at least gets a full team, and I've got to give a wee bit of credit. Not since the days of Blue and Silver have I longed to spin the jaw of a rival as badly as Trace. It's not what they were going for. He's just supposed to be a turbo buddy. Ultra positive vibes only. But to me, that only makes him all the more slappable. It gives you that competitive nature. It brings out your ego, like, no chance I'm getting folded by this geek. Not losing and giving him the pleasure of earning my lunch money. His Pokemon could have 1 HP. His Marowak could be one mildly pulled rubber band sling away from becoming a ghost type, and I'm still using Hyper Beam. To even consider him a rival, implying you're ever on the same level, is an insult to yourself. He can't be a rival, because that implies there was ever a competition. I found the dynamic between the player and Trace not so much a rivalry, it's more the one-sided relationship I'd have with a chicken wing, that I would clean the bone off and it exists purely for fueling my rear deltoids and lining my stomach up for more spiced rum. The main rivals in Kalos, one of, I think, 2 trainers nationwide there who have pockets deep enough to fill out a team. Calum and Serena have solid enough teams, as base form a set of rivals as you can get though, really. If it weren't already obvious, Generation 6 was really the point where the rivals started to get lobotomized. When the professor hands you the Pokedex, your first Pokémon comes free with a pocket Bible, and they lose any kind of edge they might have had in the past. I guess that's why they call these games X and Y. It's from the chromosomes you choose, because Calum and Serena are the same person. Serena gets a bit of a pass there, because at least the design is very different from Calum's, and she was a big character in the anime, so it's at least somewhat confirmed that Arceus has given her a soul. But you cannot convince me that Calum has any kind of sentience. You could argue the exact same thing happened with Brendan and May, and they are much more XY chromosome flipped. But at least there, Brendan actually looks like his own character, like a Red or an Ethan. Calum had the unfortunate luck of being introduced at the same time as customizable options did, so I assume he just had to look very default me compared to your standard Brendan. He had to be a blank slate and much less of a unique character, so the player can mold themselves after them. And ever since Calum, every playable main character has had the same facial variation as a set of South Park characters. It's almost as if these games were built around you choosing the male character, because Serena's clearly the only one out of the 2 who believably have some kind of a personality behind them, but in the games, it goes for the pair of them. Boring rivals. You'd get better conversation out of plank. Hal isn't too far off the Kalos crowd. Standard NPC rival, no voice in his head, doesn't have the sentience to imagine an apple rotating in his mind. You don't even need a conversation with the guy to clock that one when he's willingly evolved King Crabrawler into this freak of nature. Clearly, his sentience is too lacking to have any kind of inner monologue, because it would have been screaming at him to keep that crab well away from any icy terrain. Not even allowed whiskey on the rocks, he can't be risking that. Can't even risk him grabbing a few Steve Weisers from the freezer in case evolution takes its unnatural course and genetically ruins the peak specimen that is Crabrawler. I get you're at a holiday destination kind of, but how he's feeling a bit too uncomfortably nice. Maybe that's on brand, like he thinks I'm a tourist and he can hustle me for overpriced porn star martinis. It's one thing being an overly friendly rival, but you're pushing it a bit when you choose the starter that has the type disadvantage against me. Alright, come on, Hal, at least pretend like you're trying to win. You don't have to fluff me up that much. I'm not going on your little jet ski ride. I'm not going to your dodgy strip club. Don't care how many free shot tokens you handed me. Another very safe, very boring team. The starter, an Eevee, a Pikachu variant, carries around just an actual bull for some reason. Only reason you should be keeping that on a champion level team is if your rival is Johnny Knoxville. Raichu being a Alolan is fair game, but aside from Noivern, his team's looking very dry, which is weird because usually when they have a rival who isn't a main character option, they can get a bit more wild with them. They can have whatever personality they want since they're permanently an NPC. But looking at how, you could have convinced me he was just a variation of the main character. These 2 very easily could have switched places in dialogue and no one would question anything. Those same vapid pupils, ripe and ready for some customization down the barbers. I know Bede has a vital role in the story, but I assume Bede exists with the main rivals, because you know, you've got to check off all the England factions. You got Leon, the football chav, Marnie, Goth chav, you and Hop are kind of just in-betweeners. I could see Hop growing up to become a car chav, and I'm afraid that leaves Bede to be your textbook gentrified chav. Yeah, having a private education and parents who are on a yacht in Monaco, that's not gonna free you from the chav and or bogan allegations. You need a man like Bede to step in and fill that pretentious, I'm better than you. You need the squillium here and there as a rival, don't you? Fairy makes for a banger monotype to go for in all fairness. He starts off as a psychic specialist and eventually leans towards the fairy type. Don't care how much I could have used out Reuniclus or Gothitelle somewhere down the line. The old lady made me change my mind, so all pure psychic types are getting binned. Bianca and Sharon are one in the same. Similar template teams, spontaneously fighting you across the region, and both know where you sleep. Perfectly solid rivals, completely serviceable teams, and distinct identities slapped onto them. They just happen to be lucky enough to be around the same town as the chosen one, yourself. that playable character, look at you. They just seem like a much less embarrassing to be seen in public with addition of the Kalos Jabroni trio. This could have easily been a similar situation, but they both get carried because everyone in black and white has at least some form of consciousness behind their eyes, and the trainers always get a good varied selection of Pokemon. The thing is though, the pair of them aren't really your true rivals. They both get massively overshadowed by the man they call N. By comparison, they're more like your mum's friends' kids who happen to be around the same age as you, so you're kind of forced to hang out with them. Generally speaking, these characters seem well liked, but neck and neck against the other rivals, I gotta be honest, they're gonna sink a bit. Now Cheren is giving me a lot of Millhouse energy, a bit too much Millhouse energy in fact. Seems like he goes on Reddit daily to correct people on the actual pronunciation of Arceus. Bianca is a solid character, but as a rival, she's just not cutthroat enough for this business. She gets the starter type disadvantage against you like Howl, but that's more like, you know, she's being too nice. It makes more sense this way though, a trio of rivals completing the Mexican standoff, and you don't have to feel guilty knowing the third unchosen starter is collecting dust in a briefcase somewhere. Marnie is very similar to Bede, objectively speaking, so you'd think she'd be straight after, but if I really think about it, do I rate her less than the Unova side piece rivals? Yeah, nah. Do I rate Bede more than the Unova side piece rivals? Also, yeah, nah. She reintroduces a classic staple of having a crowd of adoring fans constantly around the rival. A real old school thing to flex on you, that they have loyal followers. They draw a crowd, unlike yourself, you mute loner. You can barely even get your own Pokemon to follow you outside of the ball. And here comes Marnie with tax-paying adults tracking her down on all fours like a drug sniffer dog. Sadly, it's just a much creepier, sinister version of Gary and the Homobile. Because that was just a little flex, playboy. There's nothing suspect going on since they're welcomed by Gary on his journey. That horde of cheerleaders, that's like his Brock. In this case, it's a lot worse having an entire team dedicated to waiting outside your hotel rooms like your Michael Jackson, let alone having a few models in the back of your car. She got dealt the far worse hand. Gary gets to drive around in a convertible with all the babes. Marnie gets followed by grown men and has to take Corviknight taxis. At the very least, she's her own character. She gives off that dead serious Sabrina energy. You know that, might kill me, maybe might make you faint along with your Pokemon, but when you wake up, you're not in the Poké Center, you're hearing the Azor flute and staring down a giant glass flight of stairs into the clouds with Muriel P. Finster looming over you, telling you to hurry up them stairs or you're getting sentenced to a biblical detention. Marnie's team is okay enough, one Pokemon down, but at least she's got the G-Max going for her. She's gonna need that Gigantamax Ogre to fend off the regular giant ogres from Team Yell who IP tracker. Unlike Sabrina, I don't know what the boundaries are if you piss her off. I doubt she's casting any spells that can turn you action figure sized, so she could give you a little squish in a Barbie doll city, but maybe go the other way around. Have Grimmsnarl G-Max chasing you around in an actual sized city and give you a little squish between his big toes. All I'm thinking is, I think she's got a lot of potential to cause a lot of bodily harm. If Morpeko gets hangry and the only thing that'll satiate that little belly of his is yourself, he's not gonna be fuming for too long. Hop is probably the best out of the overly friendly rivals, but overall, he's near enough dead-on middle tier. To me, he just seems like Howl if he weren't a jumbo jabroni. It's not exactly like he's much more memorable than Howl though. Leon was so much more memorable, I completely forgot the two were related, and he may have the least personality out of the core Gala trio, but at the same time, he's the only one who even remotely matches up to you as an equal. Marnie and Bede were never a real threat. The one time Bede even attempted to be the least bit threatening, he had to borrow a huge elephant off Chairman Rose. Combat-wise, these two were just glorified ace trainers. Now, you can hold on to your trainer caps for a second. A child named after the singular instruction that comes with a pair of moon shoes isn't exactly a Misfitster alert level threat himself, but he's at least presented as an equal to you. Your sword to his shield, your blue fursona to his red fursona. He's in the championship conversation, while the other two, they're in the little leagues. They're off being leaders, still down the gym, while you're both on stage doing Mr. Olympia with Leon, a very base form rival. But he's still far from the most bland, and his team alone carries him halfway up the rankings here. It never even crossed my mind that he gets to keep the legendary dog he gets a hold of. That wasn't just a unique experience to me. You know, fair play to him. None of that releasing the legendary out of respect or whatever. Nah, Zamazenta, he's gone from slumbering in wheels to sleeping in my shed. Then he's got the starter, Snorlax, Corviknight. That's all I need to see to know he doesn't ever have to pull a Mokuba and have his older, dragon-obsessed brother come and fight his battles for him. Even with that, his personality may as well be the most motivated loser going. No matter how many times you have to humble him, he still somehow gaslit himself into thinking he has any chance at being champion while he walks the same region as you, the player. Guy can't even pull the Mokuba card. He can lay down the gauntlet of, my brother's bigger than you, all he wants. You've already folded the older brother. You know what, mate? Don't make it a rival trainer, make it a rival family. The entire hot bloodline can get it. Downloadable content rivals. What a time to be alive. I wasn't even sure if I'd put Clara and Avery down as rivals in a generation that already has like 3. But then again, DLC is uncharted territory for Pokemon, so why not? The gimmick of rivals being exclusive to the game version, that's a nice touch there as well. And like version exclusive counterparts, they're both similar enough objectively. I'm almost thinking these two shouldn't have been relegated to DLC. With a full game behind them, they could have been way higher here. Why did they save the real dickhead rivals for an add-on? I'd have much rather had a guy so arrogant he levitates the people he defeats. That right there is some top shelf arrogance. Having the Pokeballs just floating around him and all. Imagine walking the streets that cocky. Just have your wallet, keys, phone floating around a comically large pink top hat. Just a free invitation, an open challenge to muggers. It's not even like if you beat him back, you could show off some levitating tricks of your own to flex on him. What kind of victory taunt can one up that? Just you practicing for months, waiting to bust out a perfectly executed backflip over him once you finally get the win. And Clara openly admits to cheating. What kind of weapon do you have to be to cheat in turn-based combat? Imagine that took place in-game. Like they get a cheeky extra double slap in when it's their turn while you're not looking. Blues Machamp just gets your Snorlax in a headlock and doesn't let him out. What kind of Mandela effect is my brain processing looking back at Brendan and May's teams? What were we ever afraid of? They're nowhere near as threatening as that Route 110 mugging made it seem once you're fully leveled. The PTSD from that canon event just instilled this permanent fear, even though they have a team that doesn't even manage to fully evolve their starter Pokemon in the last battle you have with them. They maxed out at around level 34. Wasn't even until Hoenn shifted into the 3rd dimension before these two fully evolved their starter. The end team isn't anywhere near as criminal in the original games. Cause I swear, on Route 110, if they beat you here, you go the rest of your game with your running shoes missing. When you get to the 5th battle, both more juiced up. No jump scaring you unprepared, cause with your newfound PTSD, you know to always be ready, hands up, protecting the face at all times. You can easily get your running shoes back this time. Actually, now since we're here outside the Lily Cove City Shopping Center, you can head straight back in there and go get me a lottery ticket. Yeah, one of the Master Ball scratchies. While you're at it, you can go get me a kebab. May as well head all the way back to the top floor and grab me a lemonade from the vending machine too. Then we can call it even for you and Marshtomp G checking me on Route 110 the other day. The literal game changer there is the remix, where they get the fully evolved starters along with the Mega Stone and a few stronger choices like Raichu and Breloom. Mega Blaziken alone is more than enough to shift the tides of power. Sends them out who's coincidentally wearing a fresh pair of running shoes. Maybe they'd make it more fair and they'd give you back your running shoes along with a 30-second head start. But aside from getting hard carried by Mega Evolution, and I guess Breloom, their teams still aren't anything that special. Yet you still can't deny that they were a decent rival. You may leave them well behind strength-wise by the late game, but as a constant entity throughout, they were a worthy opponent, an occasional ally while it lasted. Nemona does fall under that "I love battling" trope that many of the most base form rivals have as the only trait giving them any false kind of sentience. But it holds up a lot more because it's not just a How's love for battling, it's more like a Super Hand's love for crack. Which, if you don't watch Peep Show, Super Hand's really really loves crack. Nemona showing up to your front door with bloodshot eyes, holding a huge plank of wood like, bow. It doesn't feel as generic of a trope here when she goes about her lust for combat like Goku, and even has that Kakarot level clout being a champion. She's just intentionally holding back against you the whole game, grooming you up so she can finally have a worthy opponent to show off her Super Saiyan form without pulling a Getsus and causing a child to perish. Paldea seemed like it would have been the perfect time for dickhead rivals to truly return to classic form again. School setting, your main rival was just asking to be Randall from Recess, hiding in the bushes with his little notepad, jotting down all the times you've been gallivanting off in the west province of Paldea when you should have been sat in class revising your Pokemon club card offers. No player wants to go to lessons. You have the first open world Pokemon generation and you've got to go to school. But I was thinking, this is how you get your rival really hateable. Your Randall rival is there to rat you out if your attendance gets too low. Oh, if you spent too much time out, then you face the mandatory, impossible to beat secret boss. Mastered Ultra Instinct Miss Finster hunts you down and sentences you to the box, like Mr1upz coming in when he catches you cheating in Animal Crossing. You never know when she's coming. One day you're shiny hunting and you turn around to see this absolute alpha specimen sprinting 30 miles an hour towards you, an omnipotent entity lurking over the region like Lavos in Chrono Trigger. You can fight her whenever you feel like it, but you best be prepared. Nemona isn't one of them waiting at the end of the route to get the jump on you kind of rival. You're not crossing a bridge like, well, pleasure seeing you here, while her hands hovering over her Orthworm ball like she's about to draw a Smith & Wesson on you. She's more calculated than that, exactly where she's meant to be, tracking you down at every second, dusting the ground off, checking for Koraidon prints. In some cases, you could have avoided fighting Blue or May by simply not being around the same set of pixels as them. But if you don't cross a bridge Nemona might be on, she's gonna take matters into her own hands and hunt you down. She'd sense the energy of Koraidon and instant transmission to you. Gladion wasn't getting any Bibles handed to him along with his Pokedex. For all my criticisms of modern rivals losing their edge, Gladion definitely has a bit of edge to him. Maybe in the same way that Shadow holding a pistol has edge to it, but it's still leagues above Hao and his vapid, thoughtless mind. Being a bit of a cringelord to me actually works in his favor. It makes for a great rival, because do you really want to be losing to a guy who poses? And not just poses, stands off with you, ripping off John Cena's "you can't see me" disrespectful, stolen valor from the rap community. He can't be doing that because clearly he comes under the goth chav bracket, looking real zesty with it too. Can't tell if he's looking to compete in a battle or a beach off. Gladion with the most severe wanker's cramp going, charging up his hand to punch in some drywall. For someone who looks as though he'd take recoil damage from putting a hole through drywall, his Pokemon are very wedged up, especially in Ultra Sun and Moon. Been switching out the monster energy for the whey protein for breakfast. He's got a legendary, Lucario, Porygon Z. Somehow he's managed to even glory hunt his way into getting a Kanto starter as well. So not only is he very fun to dunk on, he's got a team to actually press you with, and he's got a fair enough amount of anti-hero depth to his character. Everything you need for a sound rival. Barry automatically gets a fast track up the list for having a noticeable personality alone. It may be as one-dimensional as having turbo ADHD, but at least that's still one dimension more than half the rivals we've had since then. And he's committed to the gimmick. The guy never even got his Pokedex because he just legged it from the professor's lab. Professor Rowan must lose a lot of sleep over that. The amount of undocumented specimens gone unchecked by the Pokedex purely because Barry runs on Diesel. I'll rate it a lot when rivals have teams that actually suit the region they're from. Kayla and Serena have like 2 Kalos Pokemon. Hao has 2.5 Alolan ones. Barry has a mixed region team, but it all makes sense to Sinnoh. He hasn't just got an Eevee because it's trendy for notable trainers to have an Eevee. Staraptor, Roserade, Floatzel, staple Synovian natives, Snorlax and Heracross, avid Staranners of the honey. Barry may be permanently stapled to a pair of running shoes, got his B button taped down at all times. He wasn't patient enough to grab his Pokedex, but was somehow patient enough to lather up some honey on them trees to catch a Munchlax. Wally most certainly got the new generation wedge up. The guy went from Gen 3 to Trend 6. Such a sickly little fella, having a team this juiced up to their gills, injecting all the steroids and stem cells the hospital is feeding him straight into the veins of his Pokeballs. Gallade, Garchomp, Magnezone, Roserade. May might have mugged you for your shoes. Wally would mug you for your HMs and softlock you in Satopolis City. Decked out his teams with assault vests, life orbs and all that. Wally knows the matter. His team's as IV trained as he's IV dripped. All that time he's spent ill. It's just the karmic cycle in play for the amount of time people are going to be spending in the hospital as a result of his team. Wally is the real rival of Hoenn since he can actually keep up with you. The last notable trainer to kick off with you at the end of Victory Road has to be the main rival. Brendan and May are just your classic chromosome switch. Wally is his own chromosome. Doesn't even need the starter Pokemon to be an elite trainer. Imagine if he were part of Professor Birch's crowd. Could have been looking at this lineup along with a Blaziken or Swampert. You can't even rematch Brendan and May, even if they could keep up with you level-wise. Wally is just about that life. He's more like, if you really want that Make-A-Wish visit from John Cena, you know where to find me. A rival leaning on the more modern side who isn't a complete geek. You love to see it. Hugh has more the energy of a trainer you'd see in Pokemon Colosseum. More like how an actual human being would exist in this world. Can think for themselves a bit without a professor in their ear establishing their life goals for him. Hugh is a really unique rival because he actually has a motive that isn't just Jiminy Jillikers, I sure do love me a battle. On-site beef with Team Plasma for stealing his granddad's Purloin. That's a proper motive. That's not just copying you. He doesn't have the same cut and paste goals to be a Pokemon champion or fill the Pokedex. The guy's just out for himself and his family. A rival that keeps you sharp but also backs you when some goons on a flying pirate ship are in need of a good slapping down. Sharon and Bianca are more like the forced family friends you have to hang out with, but Hugh's more like the one cousin you vibe with properly, or that older kid around the neighborhood who knew how to do a kickflip. So, you know, he's pretty much the kingpin of the block. And what a name. Hugh. That's a proper geezer name. You don't feel embarrassed at all being considered rivaled by a Hugh. You know, thinking about it, you were never meant to have a rival growing up in New Bark Town. But Silver takes the initiative. He threw himself into the conversation, breaking and entering into Professor Realm's lab and stealing a crocodile he left on his front desk. Well, I'm just assuming. It's either that or Cyndaquil. I think if he ended up stealing Chikorita by accident, he would have broken a second time and switched it out. Actually, no, because I always chose Totodile as a kid. Maybe that's why Elm was kind of calm about it. He was like, oh no, it's gone. It's gone up and robbed. Where is it? Did one of you take the ball? Let's get the police on the phone now. Oh, wait. Oh, hold on. Oh, nah, okay. False alarm. It's all good. It's all good. He's only took Chikorita. Woo, thought for a second he took Totodile. Oh man, I was stressed for a minute. Oh no, we're all good. Don't worry about it. Anyway, this guy was a little prick. A rival willing to lay hands on you. Shoves you out the way every chance he gets. That is pure disrespect. That transcends Pokemon beef. That's just real human beef. That's like, if you do that again, I'll muck punch your jaw. Or even better, I'll bring the Pokemon into it. Croconaur's gonna be using Crunch on your shin bones next if you keep doing that. As it stands, the guy's team is a bit unfinished. Give him an abroad year to Sinnoh, come back with a Weevil and Magnezone, and the guy's a menace. Gengar, Alakazam, Crobat, they can push around anyone he wants. And you'll just have to sit there and ask for more just to appease him. Yeah, he'd have a good crack at his old man at this rate. Especially if he's a thief of good taste and stole himself a Totodile. Feraligatr would drink Giovanni's team like the milky broth remaining from a scranned bowl of Cocoa Puffs. Villain. Evil leader, anti-hero, rival, heavily involved in the region's legendary Pokemon battles. He gets in all the cutscenes and is an everyman. Very well traveled. He's a lab coat and a tight little nurse's outfit away from being able to fill every character role a region needs. The guy can even talk to Pokemon. What can't Mr. Gropius do? He's like a reverse Meowth and has to be top 3 for everyone. That's as undisputable as Tierno being in the banished pile. style. No matter how you're judging it, he has the most character depth, debatably the strongest set of Pokemon. He's a genuine rival as well as a legitimate threat to the region along with Ghetsis. You can canonically lose to your rivals here and there, but you can't take any chances with letting N ultimately get his way. Ghetsis trying to gaslight everyone into releasing their Pokemon so he'd be the only one using them. Release all of your Pokemon and set them free like they belong. Oh, me? Oh no, I've already done mine. Yeah, I just use these Pokeballs on my belt as like little portable ashtrays. Don't worry about it. If you fail to match up to N and not give him the beating Ghetsis likely already did, who knows how far Ghetsis would have made it. Unova would somehow be ruled by like 8 Pokemon. N has more complexities, more depth, more layers, more legendary Pokemon, and definitely more trauma. But I'll tell you what he never had. The whole convertible player. That's more an anime-only thing. Gary and Blue may be different characters, but if not for technical limitations, I'm sure Blue 2 would possess the whole convertible to flex on ya. But Blue is just the rival. N brings you on a Ferris wheel, so we can trauma dump on you, knowing you've no way of leaving the interaction. Blue is the source point of trauma. He's the reason people like N bring you onto the Ferris wheel to vent, making a scene at the lab 10 seconds into officially becoming a trainer, potentially handing you your first loss right in front of Professor Oak. Embarrassing. Making him reconsider taking you under his apprenticeship in the first place.
Well, I might have to revoke you of your license. I don't think you're ready to handle that Charmander just yet. Gotta hand in your Pokedex after that display. I mean, really, who uses Growl at level 5? Pokemon's just not for you. No adventure for you. Back to school.
Embarrassing you on the SS Anne, getting to be the first ever champion before you. He didn't even have a 5th trainer to beat, so he gets the chance to fully heal after Lance. You don't get the same privilege. Extra battle has been added to the gauntlet for you, and it's all because of Blue. Every version of him has an all-around complete team. No matter what remake or multiverse he happens to jump scare you in, chances are his full team is gonna give you some business. Because as far as in-game trainers go, you can't go too wrong with a Kanto's greatest hits team, along with a Tyranitar working part-time for him. I guess this all comes down to personal experience, but I always remember Blue being the most consistently difficult to handle rival throughout the games. A lot more unforgiving, both by design and poor coding. I never even beat Kanto when I was a young kid. I always got up to the Elite Four and managed to get folded by him every single time for some reason. I didn't even bother going back to finally get that win over him till I was like 15. So how could I not rate Blue as the top rival when he personally gave me the most amount of business growing up? Shout out to Raid Shadow Legends, download with the QR code on screen or link in the description. New players get fresh bonuses with an epic champion.